Dr. Hannah Park stood tall as she watched the blue aliens walk into the big room at the United Nations. Her heart beat fast, but her face stayed calm. The Talons had come to Earth just 3 months ago. They had set up their base near Geneva, and today was the first big meeting. Hannah fixed her dark suit and touched the small translator pin on her collar. No one knew her secret. For 5 years, she had learned the Talon language by listening to their space signals. Only a few top people in the government knew what she could do. The room was bright and filled with important people from all over Earth. Flags from many nations lined the walls. Large windows let in sunlight that made the Talons' blue skin shine. In an odd way. Secretary General Okafor stepped forward with a wide smile. He was a big man with a deep voice that filled the room. "Welcome, esteemed visitors," he said, holding out his hands in a gesture of peace. The Talons were tall, almost 7 feet. They had no hair, and their blue skin had small patterns that seemed to move in the light. Their leader, Ambassador Kier, wore a silver robe that reached the floor. His eyes were large and dark, with no white parts like human eyes. Ambassador Kier held up a small silver box. When he spoke, the box glowed, and then spoke in English. "We are honored to begin formal negotiations with your species," came the flat, computer voice. Hannah's ears caught what the translator didn't say. The actual words Kier spoke in his own tongue were very different. "These simple creatures will be easily manipulated." She kept her face still, though her stomach tightened. Next to her, Colonel Jin Ho Kim stood rigid in his military uniform. He noticed her slight change and gave her a questioning look. Hannah shook her head just a tiny bit. "Not now." The meeting went on for 3 hours. The Talons talked about peace and trade. They showed pictures of their technology, ships that could travel very fast, machines that could clean water, and tools that could help grow more food. All the while, Hannah listened to what they really said to each other. They called humans dirtwalkers and short-lived pets. They laughed about how Earth's leaders didn't understand what they were really offering, old technology the Talons didn't use anymore. When the meeting ended, Hannah followed Colonel Kim and Director Lee to a small room deep inside the building. The walls were special. No sound could get out and no devices could listen in. They sat at a round table with no windows. "So?" Director Lee asked. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. "What did you think?" Hannah took a deep breath. "They're lying to us," she said simply. "Their translator isn't telling us what they're really saying." Colonel Kim leaned forward. "Are you sure?" Hannah nodded. "When Ambassador Kier welcomed us, he actually said, 'These simple creatures will be easily manipulated.' And it got worse from there." Director Lee's eyes widened. "You understood them? Their actual language?" "Yes," Hannah said. "I've been studying it for years from the signals we caught. I'm not perfect, but I understand most of what they say." Colonel Kim hit the table with his fist. "We should tell the Secretary General right now. They're making fools of us." Hannah shook her head. "No, not yet." "Why not?" Colonel Kim demanded. "Because right now we have something they don't know we have," Hannah explained. "They think they can talk freely in front of us. They don't know I understand every word." Director Lee nodded slowly. "Information. The best weapon in any negotiation." "Exactly," Hannah said. "I heard them talking about their real plans. They want our water and some metals we have. They think we're too simple to negotiate well." "What do you suggest?" Director Lee asked. Hannah thought for a moment. "We keep my ability secret. I attend to all meetings. I record what they really say and what their translator tells us. We'll know their true plans while they think we're in the dark." Colonel Kim didn't look happy. "It feels dishonest." "They started the dishonesty," Hannah pointed out. "We're just evening the field." Director Lee stood up. "Dr. Park is right. This is too important to rush. We need to learn more about what they really want before we show our hand." Hannah nodded. "I can teach a few key people some basic Talon phrases, just enough to recognize. Important words: danger, weapon, lie, human." "Do it," Director Lee said, "but keep the circle small. Only people who absolutely need to know." As they left the room, Colonel Kim walked beside Hana. "How did you learn their language?" "Really?" Hana smiled slightly. 5 years ago, we caught their signals. Most people thought it was just noise, or data. But I heard patterns. It took thousands of hours, but I started to understand words, then sentences. "That's amazing," he said. "It may save our world." Hana replied quietly. "Did you see how they looked at us? Not as equals, as resources." That night in her hotel room, Hana sat by the window looking at the stars. Somewhere up there was the Talon homeworld. They had come so far with such advanced technology, yet they still made the oldest mistake in history, underestimating those they considered beneath them. "We understand more than you think," she whispered to the night sky. Earth's future might depend on her ability to keep listening while appearing not to understand. It was a dangerous game, but Hana was ready to play. Remember to avoid needlessly searching for queries that Claude can already answer well without searching. This request appears to be for creative writing, which Claude can handle using its own knowledge. There's no need to use the search tool for this request. The user is asking for a rewrite of the Part 2 outline they provided, expanding it to 900 words in a third-person style with simple English. Hana sat at the long table in Meeting Room 3 of the United Nations building. Outside, rain fell on Geneva, making the windows blur with water. It had been 2 weeks since the first meeting with the Talons. Every day the pattern became clearer. The aliens said nice things through their translators but terrible things in their own language. Hana wrote in her notebook, drawing little circles around important words. Her black hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and she wore simple glasses that hid the recording device inside the frame. No one could tell she understood every word the Talons said to each other. Ambassador Kier stood at the front of the room. His blue skin seemed to shimmer under the lights. 5 other Talons sat in a row behind him. They all wore the same silver robes with strange marks on the sleeves. "Today we will discuss sharing our travel technology," Ambassador Kier said through the silver translator box. The flat computer voice filled the room. "We offer our transportation technology as a gesture of goodwill." The human delegates smiled and nodded. The head of the UN committee, Mrs. Garcia, was about to thank the ambassador when Hana saw Kier turn to his side. He spoke quietly to his helper, Subcommander Vel. In the Tylon language, Kier actually said, "Give them the outdated shuttle designs. These hairless apes still burn fossil fuels. They'll think it's advanced." Hana's hand tightened around her pen, but her face stayed calm. She wrote down the exact words in a code she had made up. Vel nodded and replied in their language, "The bee breeding stock on this planet will serve our needs well. Their water resources alone make this diplomatic charade worthwhile." The meeting went on for 3 more hours. The Talons showed pictures of their ships and explained how they worked. All the while, Hana listened to their side talk. They laughed about how simple humans were. They talked about taking Earth's water. They called humans meat bags and dirt walkers. When the meeting ended, Hana walked back to her hotel in the rain. She didn't take the UN car. She needed time to think, and she needed to make sure no one followed her. In her room, Hana checked for bugs or cameras. She swept the room with a special device that Colonel Jin Ho had given her. When she was sure the room was clean, she sat at her computer and began to type. Her fingers moved fast over the keys. Every insult, every plan, every lie the Talons had said today went into her secret file. The file was now very big. 2 weeks of meetings had shown that the Talons had no respect for humans and had plans to take Earth's resources. There was a knock at the door. Hana quickly closed her computer and checked the peephole. It was Colonel Jin Ho. She let him in. "Any drinks or food from the minibar?" Jin Ho asked as he came in. "No," Hana replied. This was their code to make sure she was okay and not being forced to talk. Jin Ho took off his wet coat and hung it up. His face was serious. "What did you learn today?" Hana opened her computer again and showed him the new notes. "They're going to give us old ship designs, technology they don't use anymore. They think we'll be amazed by it." Jin Ho's face turned red with anger. "They treat us like children. We should tell everyone what they're really saying." He began to pace the room, his wet shoes leaving marks on the carpet. Hana watched him walk back and forth 5 times before she spoke. "We can't show our hand yet," she said. "We need more information." Jinho stopped and looked at her. "How much more do we need? They've insulted us every day for 2 weeks. They plan to take our water. They call us breeding stock. What more? Do you need to hear?" Hana stood up and faced him. "I need to hear their real plan. So far we know they want water and they don't respect us. But we don't know why they really came to Earth. We don't know what they plan to do with us in the end." Jinho sat down on the edge of the bed. "My job is to protect our people. How can I do that if we just let them keep lying?" "We're not just letting them lie," Hana said. She went to her suitcase and pulled out 10 small devices. "These are for our top people. They will help them hear the real Talon words. I've been teaching President Yoon and 5 other leaders basic Talon words." Jinho picked up one of the small earpieces. "How many words can they understand now?" "About 50 keywords. Enough to catch when the Talons talk about weapons, plans, or insult us." Jinho nodded slowly. "And what have you told the Secretary General?" "Everything," Hana said. "But he agrees we should wait. We're changing our talking points based on what we know. Yesterday, when they tried to get rights to our oceans, we blocked it. They were surprised." A small smile appeared on Jinho's face. "So we're playing them at their own game." "Yes," Hana said. "And we're learning more every day. I think they have some bigger plan, something they're not talking about even in their own language." Jinho stood up again. "What makes you think that?" "They sometimes stop talking when certain topics come up, like they're afraid to say too much. There's something they're hiding, even from each other." Hana went to the window and looked out at the rainy night. The Talon ship could be seen in the distance, a strange shape lit up against the dark sky. "Strategic patience, Jinho," she said quietly. "We let them think we're simple. We let them think we don't understand. And all the while we learn and prepare." Jinho came to stand beside her. "And when the time comes to show our hand?" Hana's eyes narrowed as she looked at the alien ship. "When that time comes, they'll learn that insulting humans was their biggest mistake." The room was deep under the main government building. No windows, thick walls, and special doors that blocked all signals. 20 people sat around a large table. They were the most important leaders of Earth. Hana stood at the front of the room, ready to share what she had learned. "They're planning to establish military outposts in our orbital space," Hana said, her voice clear and strong. "They call it scientific observation platforms in the translations, but among themselves they're discussing weapons placement." Dolam. Room went quiet. President Yoon, a small man with serious eyes, looked at the pictures Hana had put on the big screen. The images showed Talon ships and strange objects that looked like satellites. "Are you certain?" President Yoon asked. Hana nodded. "I recorded their private talks. 3 days ago, Ambassador Kier told his weapons chief to prepare the pulse cannons for the platforms. Their translator told us these were just light sensors for studying our atmosphere." Colonel Jinho, who sat near the president, added, "We've confirmed this with other sources. The designs they shared with our science team don't match what they're building." President Yoon rubbed his tired eyes. He had been up for 20 hours straight. "Your linguistic intelligence has been invaluable, Dr. Park. Our negotiators have been countering their proposals without revealing how we know their true intentions." Minsu, the defense secretary, a tough woman with short gray hair, spoke next. "We've adjusted our satellite networks based on the intelligence, and our tech. Teams have made progress understanding their computer systems, thanks to Dr. Park's language database." Hana felt a small burst of pride. For the past month, she had worked day and night. Her language database now had over 3,000 Talon words and phrases. The military had used this to crack some of the aliens' computer codes. "What else have we learned?" asked the foreign minister. Hana touched her tablet and a new image appeared on the screen. It showed the strange marks on the Talon's robes. "These aren't just decorations, they're rank markers. We now understand their whole power structure." She moved to the next slide, which showed a pyramid of positions. Ambassador Kier is not the highest rank. He reports to someone called the High Commander, who has never come to Earth. Colonel Jin-ho leaned forward. This means Kier can't make final decisions without approval. Hana nodded. And that's not all. She tapped her tablet again. Now the screen showed a video of Talons talking. Watch this meeting from last week. In the video, Ambassador Kier was speaking about Earth's oceans. He said something, and one of his staff looked surprised but then quickly lowered his head. Did you see that? Hana asked. The aide Vel noticed a mistake in what Kier said. The ambassador called our oceans mostly salt, when actually they're studying our freshwater lakes, but Vel didn't correct him. Hana projected a diagram onto the screen. I've identified a weakness in their social structure. Lower-ranking Talons cannot contradict their superiors, even when they know the superior is incorrect. Ambassador Kier has made several technical mistakes that his staff noticed but didn't correct. The room was silent as everyone thought about what this meant. How do we use this? Asked Colonel Jin-ho. Hana smiled. We're going to let them hang themselves with their own words. She walked around the table, feeling the energy in the room. For the past week, I've had our team insert small mistakes into our translations. Things that only someone who truly understands our planet would catch. The Talons have missed everyone. Minsu nodded in understanding. So they don't know as much about us as they claim. Exactly, Hana said. They say they've studied Earth for decades, but they can't tell when we say the Amazon is in Africa, or that humans can hold their breath for 30 minutes underwater. President Yoon leaned back in his chair. I see where this is going. We can feed them false information, and they won't question it because of their rank structure. Yes, Hana said. But we can do even more. Tomorrow they plan to propose putting 20 of their platforms in our orbit. They think we'll just say yes because we want their technology. Colonel Jin-ho smiled. But instead, Hana continued, we will counter with our own proposal. We'll say we've studied their technology and want to put our own scientific platforms near their ships. For mutual learning. The defense secretary laughed. They'll never agree to that. Of course not, Hana said. But to refuse, they'll have to explain why it's a bad idea. And in doing so, they'll have to reveal why they don't want us near their ships. President Yoon's eyes lit up. They'll expose their own lies. Exactly, Hana said. And there's more. We've been recording every insult, every lie, every real plan they've discussed when they thought we couldn't understand. We now have enough to make a case to other worlds if there are any out there. Other worlds, someone asked. Yes, Hana said. The Talons have mentioned other species they trade with. If they treat those aliens better than us, we could use that. No one likes to be caught being two-faced. Colonel Jin-ho stood up and walked to the front of the room to stand beside Hana. We need to decide when to show our hand. When do we let them know we understand their language? President Yoon thought for a moment. Not yet. We need more time to prepare our defenses just in case they react badly. Hana nodded. I agree. But I think the moment is coming soon. They're getting bolder with their insults and their plans. Last week, Subcommander Vel called humans walking bags of water to be harvested. A deep anger filled the room. These were proud leaders who had worked their whole lives for their people. To hear how the Talons really saw humans was hard to take. One more week, President Yoon decided. We strengthen our position, gather more evidence, and prepare our response. Then we show them that underestimating humanity was their biggest mistake. Hana looked at the faces around the room. For the first time in weeks, she saw hope instead of fear. The Talons thought humans were simple and weak. Soon they would learn how wrong they were. The big meeting room was tense. After 6 weeks of talks, the humans and Talons had reached a breaking point. Today they were discussing the Talons' request to put their scientific platforms in Earth's orbit. Hana sat quietly at the table, watching Ambassador Kier. The blue alien looked angry. His long fingers tapped on the table as he waited for the human delegates to speak. President Yoon, speaking for Earth, had just rejected the Talons' latest offer. We cannot allow 20 of your platforms to be placed above our major cities, he said firmly. The room was filled with important people. World leaders sat around the large round table. Guards stood by the doors. Big screens on the walls showed maps of Earth's orbit with red dots marking where the Talons wanted to put their platforms. Ambassador Kier turned to his aide, Sub-Commander Vel, and spoke in their language. What he thought no one else could understand. Perhaps we overestimated your species' intelligence, Kier said in Talonic. These primitive mammals can barely understand their own planet's ecosystems, let alone interstellar politics. The silver translator box on the table glowed and spoke in flat English. We may need to reconsider our approach to find mutually beneficial terms. Hana felt her heart beat faster. She looked at President Yoon, who gave her a small nod. The time had come. Their plan was ready. All around the world, human defense systems were on alert, just in case. Hana, who had remained silent throughout most meetings, suddenly stood up. Her chair made a scraping sound on the floor. The room fell quiet. Everyone looked at her. She took a deep breath. This was the moment they had prepared for. Ambassador Kier, she said in perfect High Talonic, the formal version of their language. I believe there's been a misunderstanding about humanity's capabilities. The effect was immediate. The Talon delegation froze. Their normally blue skin paled to a light azure, almost white. Kier's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Vel dropped the device he was holding. Hana continued in their language, her voice clear and strong. For instance, we are not primitive mammals who can barely understand our own ecosystems. We have in fact understood every word you've said since your arrival. The Talons looked at each other in shock. Some of them stood up as if to leave, but Kier waved them back down with a shaking hand. Hana switched to English for the benefit of some human delegates who didn't wear the special earpieces. Ambassador Kier has been systematically misleading this council. Their technology offers are obsolete by their standards, and what they call scientific platforms are actually weapons emplacements. Murmurs spread through the room. Some of the human delegates already knew, but many were hearing this for the first time. Colonel Jin Ho, who had been waiting for his cue, stepped forward. He touched a control pad on the table, and a large hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed recordings of the Talons' private conversations with translations appearing beneath in 20 human languages. We've shared the Talonic language with all Earth governments, Jin Ho stated, and we've prepared countermeasures for the scenarios you've discussed among yourselves. On the screens, the Talons could see themselves talking about harvesting humans and taking control of the water supplies. They watched recordings of their private meetings where they laughed about how stupid humans were. Ambassador Kier stood up. His voice shook as he spoke. This is an outrage. You have been spying on our private conversations. Is it spying to understand words spoken openly in front of us? Hana asked calmly. You chose to insult us to our faces, thinking we were too simple to understand. That was your mistake, not ours. Kier looked around the room, seeing the angry faces of the human delegates. He tried a new approach. This was merely a test of your species' perceptiveness and honor, he said, forcing a smile. A way to see if you were ready for true galactic diplomacy. Hana raised an eyebrow. Was it also a test when you referred to us as breeding stock and hairless apes? The hologram changed to show Kier saying these exact words 3 weeks ago. Or perhaps, Hana continued, it was a test when you told your weapons chief to prepare the pulse cannons for the scientific platforms you wanted to put above our cities. The recording showed this conversation in detail. Kier's blue face now had dark purple spots of shame. You have misunderstood, Kier began, but Hana cut him off. We have recordings of 43 separate conversations where you discussed your real plans for Earth, she said. You want our water, you want our minerals, and you see us as resources to be used, not equals to trade with. President Yoon stood up now. His voice was calm but strong. We came to these meetings in good faith. We opened our world to you, offered friendship and hoped to learn from each other. In return, you have lied, insulted us, and plan to take what is ours by force or trickery. The room was so quiet you could hear people breathing. What happens now? Kerr asked. The usual pride in his voice was gone. Now, President Yoon said, we start over. Real negotiations, true translations, no more lies. Colonel Jin-ho touched his control pad again, and new images appeared. They showed Earth's defense systems, some of which the Talons had never seen before. We are not helpless, Jin-ho said. We have been preparing since we first discovered your approach to our solar system years ago. We hoped for friendship, but we prepared for all possibilities. Keir looked at the images with new respect in his eyes. I must contact my superiors, he said finally. Of course, President Yoon said. And when you do, please tell them something important. What is that? Keir asked. Tell them that on Earth respect is earned through honesty, not clever tricks. Tell them that humans value truth above all in our friends. And tell them that underestimating us was a very serious mistake. Hana watched as Keir and his team left the room. She felt both relief and worry. This confrontation had gone as planned, but what would come next? Would the Talons accept this new relationship, or would they decide Earth was too much trouble? Either way, humans had stood up for themselves. They had shown the aliens that Earth would not be easily fooled or conquered. As Hana gathered her notes, she knew that today, everything had changed. Hana looked out the large window of the spaceship. Earth was getting smaller as they moved away. It looked like a blue marble with white swirls. She put her hand on the cool glass. This was the first time she had ever left her home planet. 3 months had passed since the big meeting where she had shocked the Talons by speaking their language. The news people called it the translation incident. It had changed everything between humans and aliens. After that day, the Talons had gone quiet for 2 weeks. Many people on Earth worried they might attack. Defense systems stayed on high, alert. But then a message came. The Talons wanted to start over. They had sent Ambassador Keir home and replaced him with High Commissioner Lun. Lun was older than Keir. His blue skin had darker patches that showed his age. He spoke more directly and did not try to trick the humans. The new talks went well. After 8 more weeks, a real friendship began to grow between the two species. Now Hana was on her way to the Talon homeworld as Earth's first ambassador. President Yoon had picked her for the job. No one understands them better than you, he had told her. The ship was bigger inside than it looked from the outside. The walls glowed with a soft light that changed colors based on the time of day. Hana had her own room with strange but comfortable furniture that shaped itself to fit her body. High Commissioner Lun came to find her in the viewing room. He stood beside her, his tall form almost 2 feet higher than hers. Your first time in space? He asked in his deep voice. Yes, Hana said. It's beautiful and scary at the same time. Lun made a sound that Hana now knew was Talon laughter. Many feel that way their first time. They stood in silence for a while, watching Earth grow smaller. Hana thought about her family back home. Her mother had cried when she left. My daughter, going to another world, she had said with proud tears. Your species has earned the respect of the Talon Confederation, High Commissioner Lun told Hana as they gazed at Earth through the viewport. In our culture, true respect comes only after one has demonstrated cleverness and strength. Hana thought about this. It explained a lot about how the Talons had acted at first. In our culture, Hana replied, respect is often the starting point, not something to be earned through deception. Lun nodded thoughtfully. Our approaches differ, but perhaps there is wisdom in both. The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, and Earth disappeared from view. Hana felt a small tug in her stomach, then nothing. The stars outside the window became streaks of light. The journey will take 3 days, Lun said. I can tell you about our world so you will be prepared. Over the next 3 days, Hana learned about the Talon homeworld. It was called Vela, and it had 3 moons. The Talons lived in tall cities that floated above the ground to protect the natural world below. They had music and art, though very different from Earth's. Lun also explained more about why they had come to Earth in the first place. "Our world is old," he said. "We have used up many of our resources. We need fresh water and certain minerals. We thought it would be easy to trick your people and take what we needed." "That was wrong," Hana said simply. "Yes," Lun agreed, "and foolish. We learned that humans are more capable than we thought. Now we seek a true partnership." When they reached Vela, Hana was amazed. The planet was beautiful, with purple oceans and floating cities that shone in the light of the red sun. The ship landed on a platform high above the ground. Many Talons came to see the first human ambassador. They stared at her with their large, dark eyes. Some of the younger ones tried to touch her black hair, fascinated by how different it was from their smooth blue heads. Over the next month, Hana worked hard to create a new treaty between Earth and the Talon Confederation. The new agreement reflected a genuine partnership. Humans would get real technological advancements that would help clean Earth's air and water. The Talons would get limited access to Earth's biological diversity for scientific study, but under strict rules and with human scientists watching. As Earth's ambassador, Hana's ability to speak the Talon language earned her special respect. She learned not just their words but also their culture, how they greeted each other, how they showed respect, what gestures were rude. This made her very good at her job. On the last day of her first visit, there was a big ceremony to sign the new treaty. Leaders from both worlds gathered in the Great Hall of Vela. The hall had tall ceilings with strange plants growing down from above. Light came through colored glass, making patterns on the floor. Hana wore formal Earth clothes, a simple black suit with the Earth flag pin on her collar. High Commissioner Lun wore special robes that showed his high rank. As they prepared for the signing, Hana walked through the crowd. She overheard a junior Talon diplomat warning a newly arrived colleague who had just come from another planet. "Mindful of what you say around the humans," the diplomat cautioned. "They understand far more than you might expect." Hana smiled to herself. The lesson had been learned. When it was time, Hana walked to the front of the room with Lun. Together they signed the treaty that would shape the future of both worlds. As she wrote her name, Hana thought about how far they had come. Humans had not won through better weapons or more advanced technology. They had won through understanding, by listening when others thought they couldn't hear, by learning when others thought they couldn't understand. As she finished signing, the room filled with applause from both humans and Talons. A new age had begun, and Hana had helped make it happen. Not bad for a linguist who had once spent lonely nights listening to strange signals from space. On her last night on Vela, Hana looked up at the stars. Somewhere in that vast space, Earth was spinning. She would return home soon with the new treaty. But she would come back to Vela many times in the years ahead. Two worlds, once suspicious of each other, were now connected by the simple power of understanding.